Reading maketh a full man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. Truth can never be reached by just listening to the voice of an authority. Age appears best in four things: old wood to burn, old wine to drink, old friends to trust, and old authors to read. Credulity in arts and opinions is likewise of two kinds, viz., when men give too much belief to arts themselves, or to certain authors in any art. There be 3 degrees of this hiding and veiling of a man's self. The first, closeness, reservation, and secrecy; the second, dissimulation in the negative; the third, simulation in the affirmative. There is a difference between happiness and wisdom. He that thinks himself the happiest man is really so, but he that thinks himself the wisest is generally the greatest fool. If I might control the literature of the household, I would guarantee the well-being of church and state. A little philosophy inclineth man's mind to atheism, but depth in philosophy bringeth men's minds about to religion. Time is like a river, in which metals and solid substances are sunk, while chaff and straws swim upon the surface. A wise man will make more opportunities than he finds. Wonder is the seed of knowledge. In taking revenge, a man is but even with his enemy, but in passing it over, he is superior. It's not what we eat but what we digest that makes us strong. Imagination was given to man to compensate him for what he is not, a sense of humor to console him for what he is. In order for the light to shine so brightly, the darkness must be present. The general root of superstition, namely, that men observe when things hit, and not when they miss, and commit to memory the one, and forget and pass over the other. A false friend is more dangerous than an open enemy. Some books should be tasted, some devoured, but only a few should be chewed and digested thoroughly. When you wander, as you often delight to do, you wander indeed, and give never such satisfaction as the curious time requires. If a man will begin with certainties, he shall end in doubts, but if he will be content to begin with doubts, he shall end in certainties. Let the mind be enlarged to the grandeur of the mysteries, and not the mysteries contracted to the narrowness of the mind. God has, in fact, written 2 books, not just one. Of course, we are all familiar with the first book he wrote, namely Scripture. But he has written a second book called Creation. He that hath wife and children hath given hostages to fortune, for they are impediments to great enterprises, either of virtue or mischief. It is a sad fate for a man to die too well known to everybody else, and still unknown to himself. tunes and airs have in themselves some affinity with the affections. Nay, number itself in armies, importeth not much, where the people is of weak courage, for as Virgil saith, it never troubles the wolf how many the sheep be. Beauty itself is but the sensible image of the infinite. Death is a friend of ours, and he that is not ready to entertain him is not at home. He that defers his charity till he is dead, is, if a man weighs it rightly, rather liberal of another man's, than of his own. Hope is a good breakfast, but it is a bad supper. Again, there is another great and powerful cause why the sciences have made but little progress, which is this: it is not possible to run a course aright when the goal itself has not been rightly placed. Silence is the sleep that nourishes wisdom. The weakness of patience, and sweetness of life, and nature of hope, maketh men depend upon physicians with all their defects. Natures that have much heat, and great and violent desires and perturbations, are not ripe for action till they have passed the meridian of their years. A little science estranges a man from God, a lot of science brings him back. Histories make men wise, poets, witty, the mathematics, subtle, natural philosophy, deep, moral, grave, logic and rhetoric, able to contend. Heat is emotion, expansive, restrained, and acting in its strife upon the smaller particles of bodies. The poets did well to conjoin music and medicine, in Apollo, because the office of medicine is but to tune the curious harp of man's body and reduce it to harmony. Never trust a pretty girl with an ugly secret.